Hey guys, this is Canon from EnglishShooting and welcome back to the channel. GP forms are a topic that we have discussed previously on this channel, but that was more around the process of getting them filled out for your firearm or shotgun certificate application. If you want to learn more about that process, then a little box will appear for you to go and watch that video. What I'm more concerned about in this video is the political aspect of these GP forms and how they ended up morphing into something very different than what was initially intended and agreed by all the various stakeholders. I'm going to be referring from a number of BASC articles, mainly those done by Bill Harriman, and credit where credit is due, BASC have this bit between their teeth as far as GP forms are concerned, because they recognize the significant barrier they are posing to first-time applications, and they are very much pushing in a political nature to have it changed and for the process to become a lot more straightforward and fair for applicants. So what happened? Well, when I first applied for a firearm and shotgun certificate, the process was very automatic and you weren't really aware that it was going on. The police would issue your certificates and then notify the GP. Your GP, general practitioner, is your family doctor here in the UK and will have access to your full medical records. This allowed them to look through and raise any potential red flags if you had any mental or even physical health issues that would pose a danger to yourself or the public. The pitfall with this system is that it allowed a period of time, if the GP didn't get round to it straight away, where a person that could be mentally unstable would be granted the certificates, could go out and buy their guns without the GP having the time to review their medical history and raise the flag to the police. So things did need to change, and I am a supporter of having this sort of medical vetting as part of the firearm or shotgun certificate application. Firearms ownership here in the UK and across the world is constantly under attack, and the last thing we need is somebody that is mentally unstable obtaining guns legally and then committing some heinous act. That would most definitely be used against all other firearms owners and would be hailed as a reason for not having firearms ownership at all. So they agreed that things needed to change and be a little bit more proactive as part of the application, and in 2016 a number of stakeholders from the shooting and firearms ownership communities, the police and also the British Medical Association, they agreed that the system would be changed for the police to send the form directly to the GP, and the GP would have up to 21 days to raise any issues and make notes on that form if required. If no response was received from the GP to the police within that 21 days, the police would then assume that there was nothing to be worried about and they could then proceed with the application before, of course, the certificates are issued. But very shortly after this had been agreed and actually written into the Home Office firearms guidance, the British Medical Association backtracked. The main reason, the main worry from GPs and the British Medical Association was that there would be a severe liability put on the GPs. What we have also seen is police operating outside of the guidance. What this was meant to be is a process between the police and the GPs. What the majority of police forces have now done is put the onus on the applicant to get hold of this form, because of course if a GP refuses to do the form, well, that 21 days is going to pass, and the police are now aware that doesn't necessarily mean nothing is wrong. It could just potentially mean the GP hasn't bothered to do it because they object to it in the first place. So the police have put the onus on the applicant to go to their GP, have this form filled out before they are able to progress their application. And even worse, some forces, including Hampshire and Thames Valley, actually require the form to be filled out prior to even starting your application, something that I experienced firsthand. Now, luckily for myself, my GP, it was 60 quid and they had absolutely no problem doing it. The rough ballpark price of this is around 60 to 80 pounds. A lot of people are saying that that is actually a significant financial barrier for some, but the sky's the limit. There is no cap on what GPs can charge, and there have been some figures thrown around of £400-500, which is absolutely astronomical. We have also seen GPs conscientiously object. Well, really, why? Because the main reason somebody would conscientiously object is because they don't want to go and take the life of another. The GPs aren't having a gun put in their hands and being told to pull the trigger. And what BASC has highlighted, they have a wider public duty to keep the public safe. And whilst a cliche comparison I think is very fitting here, because for heavy goods vehicle drivers, HGV drivers, it is required to have a medical form completed, which the GP has to sign off of. And you don't see them conscientiously objecting to signing off on HGV drivers, because we all know vehicles kill far more people than guns do across the world. And for the GPs to have no issue signing off on those, it does seem to be a little bit more politically charged than would initially meet the eye. The main reason that certainly Bill Harriman has highlighted for this conscientious objection is liability. They are hiding behind the objection to actually mask the fact that they don't want to be put on the hook for any potential liability, because, and you can sort of see it their way in some respect, that if they do sign off on somebody, they go doolally, end up hurting or worse, killing a load of people, is the blame then going to come back on the GP? And I think this is why BASC are going very political with this, because at the very least the GPs should have some protection. Really, the onus is on the police to assess suitability, but it's hard when medical natures are involved, because the medical experts are of course the doctors and the GPs, and the police can't really have an expert opinion on that. So the guidance certainly needs to be changed, and laws need to be potentially rewritten, which doesn't put any liability on the GPs. And what BASC and Bill Harriman are going one step further with is actually saying that they have a legal obligation to fill out this form and bring it back to what was initially proposed and agreed. The police would send these forms to the GPs. They would have this lawful obligation to then fill them out. So they should be doing it within the 21 days. I mean, for reference, I think my GP form took 2 weeks to be filled out. So this does seem to be more than doable, and then return it to the police. And really, the applicant should have no involvement, and ideally there should be no extra cost if this is in the interest of public safety. Personally, I don't mind the GPs being compensated for their time, but this should be capped. This should be agreed at, how long it's going to take them to do these forms, and therefore, what's their hourly rate, what are they actually losing in time doing it, and therefore compensate it. The GPs shouldn't be able to just make a price and vary it depending on how anti-gun they feel that morning. If you are one of those people that have got stuck between a reluctant GP and a police force that is insisting you have this form filled out, then there are a number of options. Firstly, BASC are supplying help or offering help to its members. You can get in contact with their firearms team and they will be able to assist you further. Or, as I've discussed in the previous video, there are a couple of private companies, MediCert and Shotgun Medicals, that you can completely bypass your GP in just applying to them. They then request your medical records and are able to fill out the form on your behalf. What I can potentially see happening is BASC working with one of these companies and actually creating a singular dedicated service that all of the police forces used. I really think there is something to be said in certain cases for privatization and removing that sort of political nature out of it. But whatever happens, it really does need to get better, and we certainly need to have this significant barrier alongside all of the other ones we currently have removed for new applicants. But there we go, guys. Thank you very much for watching this video. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you have enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up and please consider subscribing for any future videos. And as always, guys, I hope to see you soon.